And it's time. Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me here. There's no music today, it's just me. How you doing? We are streaming. Let me know how the audio sounds to you guys, because I just want to make sure that you can hear me before we get too much further. And it looks a bit like it's too dark. Let's see if we can fix that while we're here. But how is everyone? Let me know down in the chat how everything's going for you. That might be too bright. We'll try that. How's that? Good. Good. Hello, Australia Election Day. How are you doing, Brian? Good to see you. My audio's fine. That's good to know. 5x5. Yeah, here we go. It's a good day. It's a good day. We've had lots of news over the past few days, which has been interesting because we're not used to having news at the moment. So that's all good. What is everyone excited about? We want to raise the camera up a little bit. It's one of those ones that tracks me. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Whoop. That might do the job, hopefully. Otherwise, we can just give it a little bit of headroom. That's the other option. But then I seem to sit like right in the middle of it, which is odd. But let's sort that for you. Boop. How's that? That's probably better, isn't it? Cool. How's everyone's day going? Hopefully that's sorted that out. Much better. Much better. Cool. Let's have a look what we've got in the chat already. We've got a few guys here already. So we've got John Malkin. How are you doing? Aran Van Voot. We've got John Malkin. We've got Brian Data. We've got Evan Rogers, obviously. Yeah, let's see. Was that a space grey suit? The one that I had on today for the photo, that is just one of the suits that I wear for work, and it was on with this t-shirt and a tie that's got Space Invaders on it, because I thought that was appropriate. What else have we got here? What space streams do I listen to? So the big ones that I watch. So I watch Everyday Astronaut, Tim Dodd. He's awesome. Podcast wise, Orbital Mechanics is the guy, or the group. There's 3 of them. But the Orbital Mechanics, they're really good. Yeah, but I think we should start off with a bit of Apple stuff, shouldn't we? We've got lots of stuff going on. First of all, I guess. Just trying to see what actually happened this week so I don't go too far back. But cheaper Apple TVs, that was the thing that we started the week off with. That's not too bad, is it? Apple TV, I think, is one of those things that has been too expensive in the past for Apple. I think it's a bit of a strange situation there. But yeah, let's make it a bit cheaper. Apple TV, when I first started, was $99, I think. And then it went up to like $179 and $159. And that seems like too much. So, yeah, I think it's good that they're bringing that down a little bit. Would you be happy with an Apple TV if it didn't come with a remote control? I guess that's the big question. Would you be happy with an Apple TV that is low price, maybe, let's say $75 for the sake of argument, but doesn't come with a remote, so you use your iPhone for it? Because I tend to grab my iPhone most of the time because that old remote at least used to get lost. The silver one, not so much, because it stands out a little bit. But, yeah, I think that's a potential decent shout. I don't think that's too bad. Do we think that the Air is coming to WWDC? I kind of still think it will do. The only thing that might be the issue is if it gets delayed because of what's going on in China right now. There's not a great deal Apple can do about that, but I think the plan is that it would come. But yeah, back to the Apple TV. We'll definitely talk about M2 a little bit more detail, because Apple Silicon's definitely the thing that I'm the most interested in. Mark Sequence in the house. How you doing? Tyler Morrison, how are you? Good to just greet everyone. It's nice to have people back. It's been a while, Mark. Hope you're well. But yeah, I think for the Apple TV, what would we be willing to get rid of to get the price lower? Now, this is something we've talked about with SE Max in the past, is like which features do we not necessarily need? I think for the TV, I don't think too many people play games on it, but I think there are certain types of games that work really well on the TV. Like if you were playing quiz games, maybe you could all use your iPhones as like your buzzer. That would be quite compelling. I think there are probably some apps out there like that, but I don't know. I haven't played with them. I think that would be kind of fun, and I don't think the Apple TV remote helps with that. The new Apple TV remote control as well, the one that kind of replaced this fella, the one that replaced this, the silver aluminium one, I think is nicer, but it's missing features. So this one used to have accelerometer stuff in it, so it's basically like a Wiimote. So you could actually like play racing games by tilting it. You can't do that with the new one. It doesn't do it. You could remove the Ethernet port, Tyler Morrison says. Yeah, I think you definitely could. I think most people probably connect via Wi-Fi because it's just good enough now. I personally have mine connected via Ethernet, but I'm one of those weird guys. We just got full fiber into the house, which is great. So I think that's something that we could do. I wish that you could chat in YouTube on Apple TV. Now, how about this for a feature? So if you're doing, if you're watching a live stream like this on Apple TV, being able to use your phone to do the live chat, but it's all part of the same app. I know you could kind of do it now by just turning the volume off on your phone and doing the chat on your phone and watching it on the TV, but it's a bit of a weird workaround. I think the problem with doing the live chat through the TV is that, how do you type on it? Maybe if you're going to connect a thing as well. Evan Rogers, fiber, how fast? It does about 500 megabits per second, which is not too bad, and about 75 to 80 up, which is about 4 times faster than what we had before upstream, about twice as fast for downloads, which is great. But yeah, I've got Ethernet that runs through the conduits at the top of the room up here, through that door, and then round the top of the lounge to where the cable used to come in. But now the cable comes in right into my office, so I actually get the fastest in here, which is good. So that's fine. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think you could remove the Ethernet port from an Apple TV box. Welcome everyone that's just joining us now. I know not everyone was here at the beginning, but we're talking about what Apple TV could remove in order to get to a cheaper price point, which Guoming Chi has mentioned is something that Apple is potentially looking at. He seems to be looking at a lot more stuff actually this week, because we had Guoming Chi talking about the Apple TV getting cheaper, but also about HomePods today. So perhaps there is finally some movement behind the scenes in Apple's kind of HomeKit area, which would be great. A little bit more focus on that stuff. Mark Sequence, do I have a 30 pin on the wall behind me? Sure do, I think. Yeah, just there. That's a big old long one as well. Because I think I bought this because I was going to do some Command & Conquer Red Alert on the iPad 3, which can still run it because it's a 32-bit app. So yeah, that's why I have that, because it was so that I could capture the video from it. But yeah. Could you connect a Bluetooth keyboard to an Apple TV? Oh, you could connect a Bluetooth keyboard to an Apple TV, but I better like the integration with iPhone. Otherwise, the lag is different. Yeah, that makes sense. Office should always be a priority for internet. The rest of the house is secondary. Well, I mean, it's for a lot of this house, especially. It's for media consumption for the kids and all that sort of stuff. Michael Moy set up with gigabit Ethernet for my desktop systems. Eventually, like to get 2.5 gig Ethernet or even 10 gigs. Yeah, I mean, that would be great, wouldn't it? That's the dream. I'm thinking of maybe doing a NAS type thing in the house as well. I've got some plans for when the next Apple Silicon MacBooks come out, and I know someone's asked already about the MacBook Airs. My hope is that we're going to see them at WWDC. Mark Gurman seems to think we're going to see some Macs at WWDC. M2 makes the most sense, so that would be really good. But I'm thinking if I was to get an M2 MacBook Air, it's going to be faster than my desktop right here. So what happens to my desktop? I don't think that I want to have 2 systems that I use concurrently all the time. So I have a little bit of a plan, and I've been doing a bit of research into this, and I'm looking to get an LCD controller board for an iPad Mini 2, and then a very cheap iPad Mini 2, probably with a cracked display glass or something like that, because the LCD is separate from the touch layer. And then that iPad Mini 2 LCD will go into my Macintosh SE that's sitting on the shelf up there. I'm going to take the CRT tube out of it, put in an LCD, and have an M1 inside a Macintosh SE. That's the plan. That's what I would like to do, so it's kind of a sleeper system, and then that runs all of my networking stuff, and maybe I can even fit inside it all of the hard drives that I would have, and then share them over the network from that Mac Mini M1 that literally sits on my desk looking like a Macintosh SE, which is just a very happy thing for me. So let me know what you would think about that project. Is that something you'd be interested in watching me do the project? Would that be cool? Would that be cool? Evan Rogers, no, not a Mac Mini SE, a Macintosh SE from 1986, I think it is. Let me find a picture, I'll show you. But yeah, I think the Macintosh SE is what I'm hoping to build everything into. Let's find it. This fella, one of these. I think that with M1 inside would be pretty awesome. What do you think? Because I've got one sitting up on my shelf up there, and I think that would be pretty cool. The HomePod ain't dead, Guo Ming-Chi hopes. So yeah, I think that would be, I think that'd be really cool. Yeah, so new HomePods. Let's talk new HomePods, shall we? We can come back to my Macintosh M1 SE project later. I think that would be really awesome. Yeah. Guo Ming-Chi is talking about new HomePods that will probably be coming in the next... Well, he thinks potentially by the end of this year, which is surprising to me because we've heard nothing about them so far. However, if the hardware is going to look the same externally, then potentially there's no reason that supply chain would know that much about it if they're going to literally just switch out the board that sits inside it. That would make a lot of sense. Yes, it does have a built-in handle mark sequence. It does indeed. I was thinking as well, I don't know if you've seen like the reimagined versions of those Macintoshes, but like a future retro version, which is kind of like a flat panel, and it's got the same front shape, but then you turn it to the side and it's just completely flat. I think that would be awesome. I would really like to do something like that as well. Maybe that could be done with, if I can find another one that's kind of broken and maybe discoloured, I might repaint one. I know that's almost sacrilege to repaint a classic Macintosh like that, but if there's one that's in horrendous condition, I feel like it would be justified. If not, we 3D print something that looks a bit like it. That will involve me buying a 3D printer though, which I don't have right now. So yeah, HomePods, I think that was what we were about to talk about, wasn't it? The HomePods apparently may release with very similar looking hardware, and now we don't know if this is going to be HomePod OG or HomePod Mini. We don't know if it's going to be HomePod Big, HomePod Mini. I would hope HomePod Big, because he did just say HomePod. He didn't say Mini. So it would be really fun if that's the case, and we actually finally get a second version of that old style HomePod. I think that would be so much better. But let's see. I mean, we've not... What would you guys want? I mean, the HomePod, the OG HomePod, the big one. The prices of those things secondhand have gone crazy. Let's see what they're actually going for on eBay right now. So if I go to eBay, this is in the UK, obviously. I don't think they sell as much in the UK, but let's see. Regular HomePod. I mean, we're still talking like 260. 199, 147, but that's on an auction that hasn't finished yet. See what they're completing for. This is the trick with eBay, is you don't look at what they're up for. You go down to the filters and you go to completed items. And once you're in completed items, you can actually see what people have paid for them rather than, rather than what people expect them to sell for. Let's see if we can even find that part now. Completed items, there we go. So these are actually selling at the moment, like even a HomePod Mini is selling for £72. Pair of HomePod Minis, 70, 75, 72 that they're selling for all day long. Let's see what the OG ones are selling for. 170 there, 250 because that one's boxed. That one sold for £380 plus £30 to ship it. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, these things are still demanding quite a bit of cash, which is interesting. Because they started at $350, they then got sold at what, $300? They're selling for $700 to $800 on eBay in the States. Look at the UK site then and buy them and get them shipped over to you. That would be a good way of making a lot of money, it looks like. I would do that. Michael Moy, I wish they brought back the Pill Plus, the Beats one. Sure. I mean, I guess they were okay. I don't remember that much love for them at the time, but I guess it is probably something that people did kind of like, and was the sound good on those things? I'm guessing it was too bassy. Too bassy. The Pill XL. The cool thing about the Pill XL was the carrying handle. Okay. Yeah, I've not really looked into. I never really got into the Beats thing. I had the Beats Studio 3s. I think that was the one that I had. No, Studio 2s, but I bought them for like no money because the headphone cushions were ruined. And I managed to then, I think I bought them for like £40 and then put new cushions on them. Yeah, and they were like new. So that was a win because the new cushions were about £10. Pretty expensive headphones though. But yeah, have you guys got any questions? Because I feel like I'm doing all the talking today. You guys are normally far more chatty. What about the new Apple Watch? Who's excited about this? If Apple releases the same form factor OG HomePod, it's dead on arrival, in my opinion. Needs to become a soundbar. I get you, but that only fits in one specific place. The whole idea of having it as a soundbar basically means you can only put it under a TV, and then it's not really usable in other places. I know you kind of technically could, but I feel like, the soundbar thing is just a TV thing, right? It goes under your TV. And that's kind of what you do with it. If you don't want to work it with the TV, then that HomePod as a soundbar is entirely useless and you can't do it. So I think you would have to have both, potentially. You'd have to have an OG HomePod style and then also the soundbar style. Or you have some sort of bar that can hold a pair of OG HomePods under a TV. That would also be kind of cool. What do you think? James Apple's saying they still use Beats Pill in the Apple stores for Today at Apple sessions. That's crazy to me. That seems absolutely bonkers. Soundbar with Apple TV and eARC. I don't know what eARC is. I'm sorry. I'm uneducated in audio stuff, as you can tell from the way that I use my mics. So a form factor that is as good as a soundbar, and I'd put that in every room. Okay. Yeah, I think a pair of HomePods that would mount somehow under a TV would be a really good thing. I do think if they're going to go down the HomePod soundbar route, that's going to contain Apple TV as well, and it's going to have your cameras in there, and it's going to have all the other stuff as well. I think that's the way that it would work. Does that make sense? James, I bet the iPod team is working on the HomePod team since they're out of work. What do you think the iPod team have been doing for the past 10 years. They've not really done anything, have they? Surely that's just they take an iPhone and they pull all the interesting bits out of it and they call it an iPod now. eARC is an HDMI pass-through for sound AO video. Okay. HomePod Mini 2 would have better sound. iPod Mini 2. What? iPod Mini 2? Right, let's talk about the watch. Let's move on from these HomePods, unless you guys have got some awesome ideas. I mean, I do like the idea of a soundbar, don't get me wrong. I'm not kind of criticising that at all. But I just don't think it's going to be something that Apple will go to straight away. I think they're going to go with HomePod style, maybe give you another option, but that will have the Apple TV built in. Flat watches, far more important. Let's be honest, everyone wants an Apple Watch, and I definitely want one with flat sides, because, this thing, it looks like the original like the original iPhone now. It's about the same thickness. It's got those weird curves to it. I want flat sides because that's what all my other Apple stuff has got. I've got this remote. I've got my iPad Air. I've got my iPhone 12 Pro Max, and they've all got nice flat sides. Why would I want curvy things for my Apple Watch now? So, do we agree that this is potentially actually going to come out this year, or do we think that this is still just a vicious rumour and there was never a flat-sided version in the first place? Thoughts on a postcard or down in the comments. But I think the new flat-sided Apple Watch will look amazing, and I genuinely don't think that this is the rugged one. I think that the rugged one, as I said in my video this morning, was the one that we got as the Apple Watch Series 7. I think they were going to release the flat-sided. Then they moved over to the rounded Series 7 with the thick glass on the top. That was the rugged version. Now we've got the elegant version. I wonder if it's going to have a different name. Is it going to be Apple Watch Pro? Is it going to be Apple Watch Air? Air might work for the flat sides, Let me know what you think. My wallet is going to experience the Holy Ghost when the flat edge Apple Watch is Series 8. Yes, it will. Was going to update the watch last year, but bailed when Apple stayed with the curves. Brian Data, I completely agree with you. I'm with you 100% on that. They had it in the original commercial with the flat sides. There was a couple of shots that looked like it might be, but on second and third viewing, it looked like maybe it wasn't. It maybe was just a bit of an artifact of the way that it was shot, but not 100% sure either way. Michael Moy, I think that it's real given that they wanted to do it last year and Prosser thought it had high probability. So, with John, as far as I know, he actually had photos of the physical hardware with the flat sides. Whether it was prototyped, if it was a production-ready sample or not, I don't know. But he certainly had the actual pictures of a physical item that had been built with these flat sides. Shrimp Apple Pro is saying that it's coming this year. Apple Watch Pro. Don't know if Apple Watch Pro might work. I could definitely go with that. I don't see why they wouldn't necessarily. Maybe we get a Pro, a regular, and an SE. That might make sense. How thin will the bezels be on Apple Watch Series 8? I think they'll be about the same thickness as they are on the 7, because as far as we know, it's going to be the same OLED panel that they're putting into it. The difference here will be that you'll have a flat glass on top of it instead of that thick curved glass on top. But the rim of it, like with the iPhones, will basically be flush, so you're not going to have glass getting impacted directly. So that should help with durability as well. I'm wondering what size the flat edge Apple Watch is going to be. I think it's going to be exactly the same sizes that we have in the Series 7. Because I think the OLED panels are the same that they're going to use between two. The difference is going to be that it will be flat. It will sit flatter to your wrist. And I think that's something that people have been asking for quite some time, because it does feel like the Apple Watch is quite bulbous. It's something that sits quite proud on your wrist. I think that's the situation. Evan Rogers, is the Apple Watch display currently 1 to 120 Hz? I've got a feeling it's 1 to 60. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like it's 1 to 60. In the always-on mode, it's at 1 Hz. I think when you're using it, it's up to 60, but I could be wrong. But I do think it looks really good. Michael Moy, there was a slight edge around the top of the Apple Watch for more screen protection. I think that's the plan with this, so there will be a very slightly proud edge to it. Ross Displayman said that we get 3 sizes. Yes, but that doesn't mean 3 sizes of each model. So I think we'll be looking at the same panel in this one and the Apple Watch Series 7. And then, because you've got 2 sizes in that already, and then you'd also have the SE that continues to be made, but I don't think you would have the, I don't think the Series 3 will carry on. God, I hope it won't carry on. Please, please tell me that the Series 3 is dead. The Series 3 needs to die at this point, guys. It's an abomination that it's still there. I think at this point, Apple could easily move the SE to being at 199, or maybe they need to bump it slightly, maybe 229. 229 for an SE? I think that would be a compelling option. How far out are we from real, actual technology advancements in Apple Watch? The new design is nice, but body temperature isn't doing it for me. It depends what they do with body temperature. This is the thing that needs to be kind of considered, and I know it feels like a weird thing, but just doing what is the temperature is not that useful on your wrist. That's the difficulty. You need to have all the context to it, and this is something that we learned with little Ted, because obviously he's been in and out of hospital. We've been monitoring his temperature so closely throughout the years, and you need to know what your baseline is. The Apple Watch needs to get used to what your body temperature is going to be like, the way that it changes, and then also take into account exercise that you're doing, because that will heat your body up, especially on the surface, and then it will get much, much cooler as sweat comes out and all that sort of stuff. So there is a lot of stuff to take into account with this. So it's not going to be a simple thing of this is your temperature, and that's kind of useless data. What you need is actually trend data on your body temperature, which will fluctuate by about a degree, but not a great deal more than that if you're healthy. So that's the thing. If you get a fever, it will know, but it won't necessarily be able to give you a specific number at any given time. That's not the way that it would work. AirPods temperature sensor would be more useful and accurate than for body temperature. Yes, it really would. And that actually might be something that comes with the AirPods Pro down the line, where they can actually give you like a tympanic temperature reading from your ear as well. That would be a really useful feature. And being able to pop your AirPod into your child's ear if they look like they've got a fever would also be really helpful. Pascal Munich says, I have Apple Watch Series 3 at the moment, still happy with it, don't see the need to update that one. So, I get what you're saying, I just don't think it's something that should still be being sold. I don't think it's something that I don't think it's something you need to throw in the bin. I don't think it's something you need to get rid of. However, at this point, it's been around for how many years now? 4 or 5 years? And it already has issues with being updated because of the lack of storage on board and things like that. So I think there are very good reasons that Apple could move on from it. They don't keep iPhones around for years and years and years. They keep them around for about 3 years, an absolute maximum. And that's kind of the situation. So moving on from that, James Apple, will it be reserved for women, or will it be available for everyone in the body temperature? I think it will be available for everyone, but one of the big features will be that I think it was a fertility thing that they were looking at, which will be interesting. Evan Rogers, I'd rather wait for glucose monitoring. Again, this is something that won't be the equivalent of doing finger pricks or doing a sensor on your arm. This is, again, something that my other son has, is diabetes, so we're kind of in that environment. I don't think it's going to be accurate enough for people with diabetes to do their dosing, but I think it will be accurate enough for trend data over time so that you can go to see a doctor and get checked out before you have like a diabetic coma, which is how most people find out they are diabetic. So I think that's probably what we're going to be looking at from that point of view. But also for sports people, you will be able to see your trends on blood glucose over time. That should make a lot more sense as well. It will be more of a lifestyle, see how your food impacts you, more than a see if you need to dose yourself with insulin, if that makes sense. That's my thoughts on it. I think I'm the only person that's saying this at the moment. Everyone else seems to be thinking it's going to revolutionize diabetes care. Probably not. Don't get me wrong, I would love it, and I will immediately buy my son one if that's the case. Because having to stab him every 2 weeks for the sensor and every 3 days for his insulin pod is kind of annoying. He's not a big fan of it. Michael Moy's temperature sensor is useful for menstrual cycles from my daughter. Good to know. Yeah, everyone's kind of agreeing that it's probably not going to be medical grade for that glucose monitoring, which I think makes sense. There's nothing wrong with that. But rather than having to stab yourself every few days, I think that's going to be pretty good. Mark Sequence, you know how the watch gets hot after charging it. Temperature sensors paired with cooling technology to detect and keep you at the right temperature all day for 6 hours. That's interesting. Yeah, the watch will get warm when you charge it, like any other battery. When you're shoving charge into it, it stresses it a little bit. But yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting feature too. Are we talking like chilly sleep? Evan, leave Mark alone. He's our friend. But yeah, I know John Prosser's Genius Bar podcast has Chili Sleep as a sponsor, and that's keeps all of the sheets nice and cold. Maybe that's what we're talking about here. So yeah, Apple Watch is pretty cool. What else has been going on in the Apple world this week? So we've got the Apple board have had a look at the AR/VR headsets. That's an interesting thing, I think. That does mean that we're getting a lot closer to launch, and I think that might mean that WWDC is where we could potentially see our first look at Apple's AR/VR system. Maybe not seeing the hardware, certainly not seeing consumer-ready hardware, but seeing some sort of developer transition kit, I think would be really awesome. Who here is actually interested in the AR/VR headset? Who would buy it at, let's say it's $1,500? I think that's kind of in the middle of where it might be. I think it could be as much as like a couple of thousand, so don't worry. Mark, he was asking if you're high. That was all. Do we think AR/VR will be there? Okay. Yeah, VR is leading the news right now, but the price tag is reportedly 2 to 3K. Yes, I think that's probably where it's going to be. If it was 1,500 though, John Malkin is saying he would wait. Brian Data is saying no buy. Evan Rogers is saying I'll buy it, but I'm a sheep and I do what Tim tells me. James Apple, the delay in display, which trickled down to the Mac Pro and the Mac Studio Display Pro. So let's finish off on the VR AR headset first. No interest in AR or VR at this time. Michael, I know you are into having all of the displays though. What if you could have as many virtual displays as you wanted when you put that headset on? You can literally turn 360 degrees and have displays all around you for your trading charts. Do you not think this would be compelling? Interested to know. Stephen Huxtable. Oh, welcome, my friend. This is your first message, I think. If I see a giant wooden table on stage with nothing on it, we know what's going to happen. That is a very good point. Mark Sequence is pleading the fifth. And Evan says, I'd rather buy Apple VR than a new Mac right now. Oh, okay. Don't need a computer or portability. So Evan, what are you using Mac-wise right now? I'm interested because I can't remember what you have. Did you buy a Studio? I can't remember. Michael Moy, you said you saw the news note that Tim showed the AR VR to a bunch of CEOs at other companies. I didn't see that he'd showed it to other people. I thought he'd showed it just to their board, but obviously they come from various companies, so that's pretty close. James Apple, as Flossie Carter would say, that's where we got confused. The price is too goddamn high. That's the AR VR headset for me. I think it's got to depend on the selling point, though. Like, why would you have it? What would you have it for? Evan, you don't use a Mac? What? Are you one of the people that watches me on Windows? Anyway. Michael Moy, I like having the screens. It makes it easy to show someone else what I'm doing. Yes, I mean, that is the issue with VR, AR. I think that we will get to the point where you can both look at the same virtual displays. I don't think that's going to be any real challenge for these systems, but yeah, I see where you're coming from at this point. John, I'm hoping those eyes are pointing at Evan. I watch on Apple TV and Windows. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, so Michael Moy, yeah, it was the board that they were showing it to, which is, it still indicates that we're probably looking fairly soon at getting hardware that is ready to go, which is exciting. This is at the point where I feel like we're at least going to be seeing stuff going towards the, at least going to the developers, so that they've got something to work with. I think it's going to be hardware in a casing that is probably not final. I think it's going to look pretty jank, and I think it's probably going to be lower resolution than the final version, and they're just going to tell people what it needs to look like so that people aren't previewing it to people ahead of time. I think that's probably kind of the sweet spot for where it'll be, but we'll see what happens. James, you haven't finished your Hennessy White yet? Unbelievable. Waiting for the Mac Mini to hit $400. I'm sure you can pick one up for that used, at least. I think it's about $520 in the refurb store at this point. That's if you go direct to Apple. I can see it hitting $499. I would be surprised if you will get an M1 brand new for $400 though. That just seems bonkers cheap to me. But yeah, so Apple Studio Display Pro has been delayed until October due to production issues. This has come from Ross Displayman, so we know it's true. What he always gets wrong, though, is names, and I think it's wrong on this one as well. I don't think it's going to be Apple Studio Display Pro. I think it's going to be Apple Studio XDR. I think that's probably what we'll get. That would be my guess. Apparently, it's going to be ProMotion and Mini LED, which would be amazing, but we're now looking towards probably October time, which is probably when we get that next round of Macs after DubDub. Assuming we get some DubDub stuff. I really hope we're going to get some stuff at DubDub. I need me a MacBook at this point. I'm getting to the point where I don't want to come into the office all the time. If I want to write a script, if I want to just check something out, and because I work away from home most of the time at the moment, I would really like to have a laptop that I can take with me. And I ain't buying an M1 at this point because I will make use of that extra performance with editing videos. If I was just doing office stuff, I'd probably just go M1. I'd just pick one up now and then flip it, lose $100, something like that. But right now, I think we're so close to the M2 that it seems silly. Evan Rogers, I suspect the display is to be paired with the Mac Pro, so it will release in December. I think they'll show it with the Mac Pro, but I don't think it's going to be specific to the Mac Pro. I think any of the M series Macs will be able to run it effectively, and I don't think we're going to have issues like that. I don't think we're going to have any sort of dramas with what can drive it, but it might be that if you want to run it on an M1 MacBook Air or an M1 MacBook Pro, not the M1 Pro and the M1 Max, it might be the only display you can run. You might have to use your MacBook in like clamshell mode, or at least deactivate the internal display in order to do it. How different will the M2 versus the M2 Pro? I assume it will be the same as the difference that we have between the M1 and the M1 Pro, so we'll be looking at more performance cores, less efficiency cores in the M1 Pro, and then we'll also be looking at probably double the GPU cores, so up to 20. That would be my guess. I think it will be pretty similar. It just makes sense that the family will scale in that way, so... But things always change. There's always going to be differences. There's always going to be some movement between the generations. Just like when we go for like an Intel i3 to an i5 to an i7 to an i9, from one generation to the next, they will vary the number of cores that are in there and the IP that's built into them and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of how it will do. Evan Rogers, will Apple ever release a Retina ultra-wide? I don't think so, because honestly, I don't understand the obsession that people have with ultra-wides. I mean, I get it to one degree. Like, if you've got a system that's not that powerful, it's basically like having two 1080p displays in most cases. I think they're normally 1080 or 1440 tall, I think, and then like 2 monitors wide. I've got 4 here. It's a 4K regular panel. I basically have 2 ultra wides stacked up. So that makes more sense to me, is to have a regular aspect ratio and then divide your monitor manually. Because then if you want to have something across everything, it's great. If you want to watch a movie, you actually have the display that's the right size for it, as opposed to having 2 massive black bars at the sides. So that's my take on ultra wides. Just doesn't really make sense to me. Do you think M2 Pro will be in a Mac Mini? Yes, I hope so, because I think it's weird that we haven't had an M1 Pro Mac Mini when the studio just jumped straight to the M2 Mac, the M1 Max. That just doesn't make much sense at all. Does the M1 have ProRes? John Malkin, M1 can handle ProRes. I don't think it has specific engines for it, but there we go. Evan Rogers, maybe I only watched Lawrence of Arabia. Is that in like insanely wide aspect ratio? I didn't know. Could well be. Could well be. But I don't think there's that much more to look at today. I think we've been through the majority of it. Did people like the thumbnail? I think the thumbnail, I was really pleased with it. Still really pleased with it. John Malkin, yes, I know you liked it. Thank you. I already got your feedback. But guys, if you don't have any more questions, I think we'll wrap this one up fairly soon. But I'm also very much looking forward to WWDC. I think we should probably schedule that live stream fairly soon. It's a Monday, so I'll be here, but the kids will be around, so expect we may get interruptions. I might have to jump out for a second, jump back in, jump back out, jump back in. It's going to happen. John Malkin asks the question, USB-C. Perhaps. I'm not sure if Apple will put it into the iPhones or not. I'm still 50-50 whether they'll go for it or they'll just go pure MagSafe and throw in ultra-wide chips into the MagSafe connector, because you can do really, really fast transfers over that. Even faster than you can do over Thunderbolt, I think. So that would be interesting. I didn't care about USB-C at all until Apple Silicon. Now I look forward to it. Yeah, it might well happen still. I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I don't know. It's the most honest I can be here. I'm literally 50-50 whether it happens or not. Do I care? Not really. It wouldn't change the way that I work. I tend to airdrop all my video files, so it's fine. I think the only people that it would make a big difference to are Windows users, so don't care that much. Kind of hope Apple is the first to implement 80 gigabits per second Thunderbolt 5 with iPhone 16. They could well be. They were the ones that basically invented Thunderbolt with Intel and invented the USB-C connector. What do you think the price would be for a Lightning to USB-C dongle? I've got $40 with inflation. Could be wrong about it. I would say 19 or 29, maybe 29, but I don't think 40. John Malkin, is no port a premium feature? To a degree, yes. I think it's one of those brave features, like taking away the what's it for port. Oh, hey Michael, nice to see you. You've arrived just in time for the end, but well done. Is no port a premium feature? I think it's the same as taking away the headphone jack. It's moving towards what the future will be. I think that's kind of how we're looking. Is it in itself a premium feature? No, but I think it makes sense if it makes Apple use a faster wireless standard or U1 chips in the MagSafe puck itself, so you can charge and send data over that. I think that's the way that they would play it, and also it does make the whole device safer from liquids. So if you got liquid in there and you try to charge it, you're not going to have any water damage, any liquid damage, anything like that. And the other thing is, obviously, it's one less thing to go wrong with the device. So that would be my take on it. Phil Rosa Leak, evening. How's it going? It's going all right. Michael's Tech Talk, story of my life. If you haven't checked it out yet, go over to Travis MCP's MCP, his channel, and check out Michael beating Rene Ritchie at Apple Trivia. Very impressive. I take my hat off to you, Michael. Knowing those password defaults is very helpful, it turns out. Michael Rosalick, so what? By what I've seen, iOS is likely to be more like an OS for the iPads. Like Mac OS, I guess you're asking. Yeah, I mean, it looks like we're going to get some better multitasking stuff. I'm still torn on it. Should we make iPads more like a Mac? I don't think we should. Officially smarter than Rene Ritchie. I like it. I don't think we should make iPads pretend to be a Mac. I really don't. And I know this is blasphemy to a lot of people that use Macs already, but the iPad should be allowed to be its own thing. The only reason that we think it's less powerful than a Mac right now is because Evan, you beautiful, beautiful man, you. Okay, cool, we'll carry on a bit longer. So, thank you so much. So the only reason that people think that iPads should work more like Macs is because they use the way that Macs work. Kids don't have the kind of background of moving windows on a system. That isn't what power is. That isn't what the systems are. That is just a paradigm that we're used to. And I love Macs, don't get me wrong. I think they're amazing, and I would love an iPad to work that way. But I also don't think they should, because iPads are the next generation of computer, and that is kind of okay. It's okay that we don't get it, and it's okay that we don't choose to use it in the same way that we use Mac. I think having the split screen multitasking is a really good thing. Would I love to have the option for all videos to be able to play in the background on my iPhone? Yes, I would. Like, that kind of multitasking on the iPhone would be great. I don't think for many apps it works, but for a bit of kind of background stuff going on, I think it would be a really good thing. And especially now, because we're doing stuff with iCaveDave.com and putting a lot more stuff on there about other people's videos, I think that would be really helpful for me. John Malkin says, more than 2 apps. Is this multitasking on an iPad? You already can, my friend. You can do 2 apps in split screen, and you can swipe over one as well. So you can have 3. Evan Rogers, if iPad did everything Mac could do, I would never buy a Mac again. But that's not the point. Apple doesn't care about that. Everyone is worried that the iPad will cannibalize the Mac. Apple wants their products to cannibalize each other. That's literally the way that they work. The way that the product teams have to work at Apple is that they need to be able to basically try and steal features from upstream from the higher end products, and then those higher end products need to innovate and create new features to keep themselves there. Evan, they've explicitly said in the past that they don't. The whole point is that those other devices, the iPad should be stealing features from the Mac, and the iPhone should be stealing features from the iPad, and then let those other devices that are losing their unique parts innovate something new to bring down. I guess Apple would rather sell you an $1,500 iPad than a $1,000 Mac. It doesn't matter, because those features on the $1,500 iPad will eventually be on the $300 iPad too. That's the beauty, and that's why Apple innovates more than most other companies. And because otherwise you're looking at Windows, which is not adding hardware features because they don't build the hardware. All of these other companies build the hardware. So they're not trying to hold back their features for something that might go onto a phone because they don't have any control over the phone. John Malkin, an iPad can't replace a Mac. But for what? Yes, it can for most people. Like, my mum used to have a computer. Now she has an iPad. It does more than what she used to do on the computer, and it's absolutely fine. Do they want to sell you all of these things? Yes, absolutely they do, but for different uses. They don't necessarily want you to replace one with another, but the whole point is that if these features from the Mac come down to the iPad, then the Mac's got to create something new to keep itself. I have all of them, and basically I can overlap most of the stuff when I leave the house. All I have is an iPad and my phone. I don't take a Mac with me. I don't have a Mac laptop. I've only ever owned one Mac laptop that's been my daily driver, which is a 2011 MacBook Air. But I would love to have a new Mac laptop that would basically replace my Mac Mini. And I would basically dock it, and that's why I was saying earlier that we're going to look at using the Mac Mini to put inside the Macintosh SE with an iPad as a display and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm planning to do. Evan Rogers, so Apple genuinely believes touchscreens aren't good on a Mac. Interesting. All I want is a DeX mode on iPad, and I would never need to buy a Mac again. Yeah, I don't think they would be good. I don't. I don't know if Apple thinks that or not, but I think what Apple thinks is that the iPad is a different thing. It's designed for different jobs. It's there to do different things than the iPad, but that's absolutely fine. John Malkin saying no fan in the iPad. No, so it doesn't do the sustained loads in the same way that a Mac does. However, how often are you constrained by how long it takes to render a project? If you are doing something that is, if you are compiling code, yes, a Mac will be quicker than it. If you're not compiling code, if you're not doing the vast majority of stuff that most people are doing, a MacBook Air would be just as fast. Thermal limits on the iPad, yes, John, but also thermal limits on an iPad Air by the same token. Would you buy a MacBook Air in purple M2 version? 100%. Purple would be my go-to colour. Absolutely. John, if you compile code and you are running that thing, yeah, you're going to need a Mac. And not everyone does, but the vast majority of people don't. But I would also say that when we get the next process shrink, you might find that the iPad is just as fast as the Macs, even with fans. Like, I've got fans in my Mac Mini over here, and I've never heard them. They're currently running at 1700 RPMs. And bearing in mind that we've been streaming and encoding and doing a whole bunch of other stuff for nearly an hour straight. We are sitting now at 58 degrees on... Let's grab all the temperatures up, shall we? The Apple Neural Engine is sitting at 30 degrees. The efficiency cores are at 56. The performance cores are at 63. The GPUs are both sitting at 30. The image signal processor is at 30. The whole SoC dies are sitting at like 55. Yeah, it's pretty good. I think we're doing okay here. And the fans are entirely silent. Evan Rogers, I'd be fine if Apple requires docking a Magic Keyboard with the case closed in order for DeX mode to work. Well, that's an interesting thought. So only using an external display, I guess, would be okay, but Brian Data, I have a Mac Studio for intensive data analysis, but I don't need that on the go. Evan Rogers, I really just want an excuse to buy to justify a $1,500 iPad Pro purchase. Just buy one. Phil Rosalete, what's a fan? Oh, it's those spinny things that push the air in and out. John Malkin, I agree most can use an iPad, but I want an iPad that can do my workflow. And yeah, for your workflow, if you are compiling code, an iPad, absolutely not the thing for you, because you can't even run Xcode on it, or probably Docker, or whatever it is that you need at the moment. I think once you actually can, having seen how fast like transcoding image files and things like that as well have been on iPhones compared to Intel Macs, I think it's going to be one of those like no-brainers. Saranbai is here. Hello, pal. How are you? Evan Rogers agreed. Want to see Apple give us a DeX-like mode on the iPad. I mean, I think it's going to happen, but I'm not 100% sure it's needed, but I can see why people would like it. I can. So, Saran, have you just turned up, or have you been lurking for ages and just didn't want to join in? What's going on? Does anyone get any more questions that we need to do some stuff? Evan Rogers, thank God someone with some sense arrives. Welcome, Saranbai. Oh my word. Oh my word. Saran, you're going to need to set up a Patreon because I think Evan wants to defect from the iCave. John Malkin, liquid cooling on iPad. I think we're potentially going to get a vapor chamber. That might be a thing that comes. Liquid cooling, doesn't that involve like having massive fans and radiators? I feel like... Saranbot, you've been lurking and not joining in. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. DeX on iPad is needed. You guys, this isn't a Samsung. You don't get DeX anyway. But maybe something like DeX, I guess. Fine, you guys are converting me. I do think that Apple needs to create something, though, so that you can actually use an external display in an effective way with the iPad. I have been saying this. It's not like I'm just kind of jumping on the bandwagon at this point. But yes, I do think that they need to do something along those lines. I mean, I would be down for a massive touchscreen monitor. What if that 27-inch mini LED 120 hertz display is also a touch panel? Nobody's thought about this. I think that's what's going to happen. 100%. Confirmed. We all know this. I'm sure I said I was going to finish, but then Evan paid me money and I felt I should stay then. What else do you want to talk about, guys? Saran, you've got to have some opinions on something. Michael's Tech Talk. desktop experience on the iPad could be next level. They need to take the cuffs off the M1 chip in the iPad Pro and Air. And all they need to do, just pop in Final Cut. We'll all be happy. Something like the Microsoft Studio, but an iPad. Yeah, I guess that would kind of work. I still think the Studio, like the Surface Studio display, the big one, would be awesome for an iMac design, so you can like lie it down, use it as a drawing board. That's one thing that Microsoft got really, really right in terms of the, you know, the promo video, and then I don't think anyone actually liked it in reality, but it was pretty cool. Thomas Rabenstein, waiting for an Apple glasses to be my future monitor. Yeah, I think so. Saranbite, yeah. When's your next video, man? I'm sure he's put out like 4 today, probably. Let's have a look. Surely Saran's not had a holiday. Nine hours. Come on, it's been 9 hours. John Malkin. Stop hassling the guy. He put out one yesterday, one today. I think he's doing okay. I mean, I've done 3 today. That's an exception. So Saran, come on, get your finger out. Start making more videos. Unbelievable. Have you not hit 10k yet? How has this happened? Guys, if you are watching this and you've not already subscribed to Saran Bites, you need to go over there and do it right now, because he needs like, what, 180 to hit 10k? We need to get him there. Michael's Tech Talk. I would also love Apple Pencil support on the iPhone. Not to carry the pencil with me, but I would love to lift the pencil from my iPad and use it on my iPhone and put it back when it's done. That could work, because that would then be like iCloud paired, just like some of the other stuff. That would be really good. I could see that happening as like a little notepad thing, but I also think it might be a little bit small. Meh. I do think the text recognition, like the handwriting recognition, is really good on the iPad, and I don't see why they couldn't do that on like a Max iPhone. But yeah. Saran, like, no, you've been making more videos than me recently. I have slacked because of, you know, work and jobs and things. But I'm working on that. Maybe I can say this. I'm talking to some people about potentially going full-time on Apple stuff. That's all I can say. That would also give me a little bit more time on this channel, which I think would be good. Evan Rogers, I'm going to unsub from Saran so that I can sub later and push him over 10k. Good thinking, Evan. Yeah. Shows engagement, I think. Michael's Tech Talk, exactly right. iCloud pairing would work perfectly. Exactly the same as like with your AirPods. That would be really good. I still think an Apple Pencil case would be really good. That would be cool. Dave is finding a good balance between work and YouTube. Do my best. Saran, be like Batman. I mean, we should all be like Batman. That's just a rule for life. Dave, can I set up a studio at work? No, but I have like had the camera and stuff out in the cafe area when it's been quiet. When I've had time as well. Yeah. So there's some stuff going on behind the scenes, which yeah. With various. Saran, you can DM me later if you want. I'll give you a little scoop. But yeah, I think we're going to wrap this one up now. Why do you do side views in your videos? Me? Because I've got another camera. The one that we're watching on here right now is sitting on my computer, and when I'm making a video, I look this way. Hey. Because my main camera's over there, and every so often I'll just cut to the other one. Because I record my audio into the Mac anyway, so sometimes I decide I'll record video as well. Evan, thank you so much, you good man, you. Megan, 3/4 view is lovely. Oh, well, thank you so much. But yeah, that's why I do it, and it's the tiny 4K. Hang on, I'll get the box. This is another thing Oh, it's gone. Oh, see you later. See you later, Tiny View. Come back down here. Wait. There's the SE that we're going to put an M1 inside. Hello, I'm down here. I was trying to tell everyone how great the this camera is. So this is the one that's just abandoned me completely. But here we go. And this is one that we've got a review of coming up in the next couple of days. But there you go. That's a little tour of the iCave by accident. Good fun. Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We've got a whole bunch. John, thank you so much as well. That's very, very generous of you, my friend. Really appreciate it. Yeah, we're gonna start to wrap the video up there. If you've got any more questions for me, feel free to throw them down in the comments as usual, and you will get them in an iCave Answers in a coming up very, very soon. Full Rosalique, that old beastie, that is the one that we are looking at putting an M1 inside with iPad displays and LCD controllers so that it's kind of native looking. And that will be really cool because I'm then going to fill it with hard drives and make it my NAS, which is M1 powered, which will be fun. So that's probably what I'm going to do with that if I can work out how to do the iPad display thing. Go all Luke Miani on it. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. We are going to wrap it up there. Really appreciate all the super chats. You guys rule. Oh, what are my thoughts on the Godzilla TV series on Apple TV Plus? I haven't seen it at all. Time to watch some baseball? No, it's really dull. I tried to watch the first one, and it turns out baseball is the most boring sport in the world. Thank you all for being here. I might do some more streaming over the weekend, and next week it will be fun because I'm off work. And I like it, so I can make some more videos, and I'm very excited for all the review stuff that I've got to come up. So, thank you so much. We will see you in the next one.